You ready, Mike? Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mary Hendricks, and I'm Vice President for Student Access and Success, and we would like to welcome you here this afternoon. For those of you who are new to this format, we have a student forum every month. We encourage students to come, share concerns, issues, accolades, whatever. We want to hear from you. This is the first student forum that we're actually videotaping because we had a request from a student from an off-campus site who would like to hear what's being discussed here. And so we're going to be videoing this. So we ask students this time, if you would please come and stand at the mic so that we can capture both your voice and the video. For those of you new to this format, what we typically do is go over issues that were brought to us at the last forum, and we discuss the progress that was made, and then we open it up for discussion. I'd like to introduce Dean, I'm just drawing a blank, Dean Nichols, who is Dean of Campus Life and Student Development, who is also co-facilitating this forum and also will be addressing several of the issues that we'll be discussing. So if we'll take just a few moments to go over some issues that were brought to us last month and give you a status report. At the last student forum, a student voiced concern that she attended the football game and she did not know that she could get in the game free, and so she paid the $5 at the gate, and she reported this to a staff member when she found out that students could enter and participate in athletic events free of charge, and voiced concern that the staff member was not student friendly. I took this issue to the president and to the other vice presidents who then in turn addressed this with a staff member. There was a sign at the next football game that clearly stated that students were admitted free of charge. So just wanted you to be aware that we did address that. The meal plan change we discussed at the last student forum, several requests, and I think Dean Nichols explained the contract process and how that was negotiated. The street signs, a student expressed concern that our street signs on campus are confusing and sometimes give conflicting directions. I met with David McKenna, who is our Executive Director of Facilities. You may have noticed some new signage that would be, let's see, south side of campus on Monroe Street coming into where the new stadium is. That's going to be the new look. They are in the process of having that redone all on campus. It probably will not happen before the holidays, but they said in the spring semester they have to have all of those changes made. For some of you staff members, you know that we have signage for facilities that are no longer here. And so that is very confusing to new students and visitors on our campus. Students were concerned about the Prairie Crossing security gates and suggested using a card swipe service for access to the laundry, the workout room, and the gates. As of this morning, and Dean of Honors College, Dr. Ray Green, is here, and he can elaborate if we need to, but this issue has been addressed. There are further changes that will be made during the holidays. And Dr. Green, did you have any comments that you'd like to make?
You captured.
Okay, good. Okay.
If anyone has specific questions afterwards, I'll be able to comment.
Okay, great. Thank you. Students are still concerned about the crosswalks and whether the data show that the new lights are making them safer. At this point, the only baseline data we have are the number of accidents that we had in previous years. And so if you use that as your baseline, I have to say, yes, it's much safer. The old music building, there was discussion about what could we do with that space. At the plan now, particularly in light of the imminent budget reductions coming from the state, is that once that building comes down, it will be green space for a while. So you'll be able to see G Lake very clearly from the Student Center, we hope in January. The issue with Berry Hall, the doors being up off the ground, allowing bugs, etc., to enter the rooms. I know this was addressed. Dennis Cook, who is our Director of Residential Living and Learning, do you have any updates for that issue?
Currently, right now, one of the things that we were told through our research was in years past, not currently, but in years past, the fire marshal said that that gap needed to be under the door. We're researching that further because we know that things change. So currently, right now, that was the reason back then why the doors are the way they are. So right now we're doing research to find out if that's still the case.
Okay, great. Thank you. Students expressed fear over the cats that are around the library late at night. We do have a feral cat project that was authorized, but there were certain conditions placed on the authorization of that project. And there has been some communication with the individuals who are leading that initiative and making some changes. So without a lot of details, that was addressed. You should be seeing fewer cats around the library late at night. Cafeteria hours on the weekend and late nights so that students would have access during extended period of time. Dean Nichols or Dennis, would you like to address that? The issue at the last student forum is that students were requesting excuse me, additional hours on the weekend and late nights so that the cafeteria would be more accessible to students.
Well, currently right now, the hours are remaining the same, but as finals draw near, we'll be adding more study time to the back end of like we always do in the past for coffee, hot chocolate, things like that. Currently, right now, late night happens from 8:30 to 10 o'clock at night. The regular dining hours are from 7:15 to 7:15. That's 12 hours during the day. We're not seeing a huge request for an increase there. So, but we continue to keep tabs on that as we do with the bistro and the other areas too, to see if we need to extend those hours or not.
Okay, great, thank you. At this point, those were the issues that were discussed at the last student forum, and we'd like to open it up for comments from students. If you would, please state your name when you come forward and any concerns or issues you would like for us to address. Don't be bashful.
Eric Kaufman. At the last student forum, I mentioned something about the shopping cart thing and the school with Walmart. Mm-hmm. I was wondering if somebody could tell UPD, because I got pulled over a week ago, and that's kind of weird getting pulled over with a shopping cart.
Oh, no.
And I almost made it to Whitley, but the cop was like, what are you doing with the shopping cart? And he was telling me about, it's a Class B misdemeanor. And I was like, but the school says I can do it. And the cop's like, Walmart wants to press charges. They can. I was just like, okay. And he's just make sure you bring it back. I was like, great. So.
Okay. Thank you, Eric. At the last student forum, for those of you students who are here, the issue was brought up. Many of you do not have transportation, and so if you go shopping at Walmart, it's how do I transport the goods? And so we all learned something at the last student forum, that there had been a partnership worked out with Walmart to use the carts, and we just probably need to share that information with UPD. Any other comments?
Hi, I'm Ramya.
Ramya?
I'm from India Students Association, and we had a Diwali night this weekend, Saturday, and since you all know that India Students Association has around more than 300 people in it, and since we started to organize the event, when we started to prepare order food from outside, it was charging around $3,000 for the event, but the SOYAC committee has decided to give us only $1,500, whereas it was really insufficient for us to manage that particular event. So I wanted to say that at least in future, if possible, And the other one issue is that if the Soyak people were about to do the food for us, prepare the food for us, it was Sodexo, yeah, sorry. I'm sorry. I mean Sodexo. It's like if they were preparing the food for us, it'll cost around $6,000 for them. So it's like really, I mean, the prices are really like uncomparable, and we are not ready to bear that much amount of, for one particular event.
Yes.
So it's like, can you please help us out, like in future, whether either, and the other thing is that the Sodexo people are not allowing us to bring the food from outside for not more than 2 events per year. Not more than 2 events. So it's like we have a welcome party for spring, and we have a welcome party for fall, and we have Diwali night, where we need to, yes, so these 3 events we need to order the food from outside. It's really not possible for us to prepare the food for ourselves.
Right.
So it's like, can you please take that also into consideration?
Certainly. When you came in to the meeting this afternoon, I think I was given some information related to this, and I'd like Dennis Cook to address this, if he would, please.
Yeah, a few weeks ago, John, Mark, your advisor, had contacted me, and I contacted Charles Lear, who's in charge of food service here, and I know that the two of them had a meeting last week to discuss these issues. I'm not sure what the results of the meeting were that John and Charles had, but I know that they did meet last week, and they were working through these issues.
John Marcus, is with us.
Yeah.
When I talked to Charles, it was mostly related to my events that my office sponsors, and the conversation did come up with the other international groups, and he had asked me how much involvement I have with the groups, and I was telling him, well, I'm only the advisor for the Association of International Students, and I told him I can pass the word along to the international groups to let them know they need to meet with you to try to negotiate out, because he did express some concerns that not all the groups will, not every event they'll be able to bring the food from off campus. And so what I've been doing is trying to spread the word among the international groups that they need to work with Charles and Sodexo to try to negotiate what events they can and cannot bring the food from. So, yeah, and it was, yeah.
Wendy, did you?
I was just also going to say, Charles and I actually talked about this in particular, and I know that he's really willing to work with groups to provide whatever food is wanted for the events, and he's even offered to have students help work with the chefs and try to reduce the price as much as possible. And I know that this particular event is very important and also costly at the same time. So with SOAC, we can't always fully fund everything, but at the same time looking at what funding is available, working with you all to plan the event for all the needed parts. We'd be happy to have a meeting. I think that DT had also sent an email regarding the student organizations and the SOAC decision, but what might be best is for us to all sit down and meet now that the event's over and look at it for next year and how we can address all of the expenses and best meet everyone's needs. So if you want to talk to me right after this, I can get your information. We can try to set up a meeting to do that.
Thank you, Wendy.
And one of the other things I might, and this is kind of hard because I hate to steal Wendy's business, but the food service contract is strictly for this building on campus. And so if we were able to maybe work through and find another space where we might be able to hold some of the other events here on campus, then you wouldn't be restricted by having to use food service for that event.
In this particular issue, it's like, the other place to find where we can accommodate so many people is like not possible. Like
how many people are we talking?
300.
300, more than 300.